This says that she doesn't know that the desert was a sea and then tells me that gold comes from a supernova.
The question that I had about personal legends is, do we choose it or does it choose us?
What I do know about my personal legend is that it requires me to see and experience and touch and feel and taste the world.
I don't think that you can receive omens unless you are so present.
To be able to be present, you have to have awareness of future and past to be able to bring you there.
I think there's a hierarchy, though, where people are prioritizing the future over the present.
The problem is that they don't even realize that they're walking a new road every day. They don't see that the fields are new and the seasons change. All they think about is food and water. That is the perfect representation of us as humans being sheep in this reality that we live in.
We are the personal legend of the universe.
That. I'm a woman of the desert, but above all, I'm a woman.
Yes. Led to gold, oh, Santiago.
Okay, that was crazy. I'm ready. For those who are deep enough to get it,
but profound enough to not care,
you're listening to Consciously Unconscious. We'll talk about why we're drinking this beverage of the week at a different moment in time, but I accidentally stole a literal like $300 bottle of wine from Amanda's parents' house.
Wasn't quite $300, but pretty much.
Muchas gracias.
Cheers. What's the Spanish version of cheers?
Arriba, abajo, el centro, el dentro.
Arriba, abajo, el centro. Did I just say al baño?
Yeah. Arriba, puedo ir al baño, el centro.
En escuela.
And then it's, oh my God.
What's the book? El book?
What? Oh,
what
in
is
Spanish.
Correct.
Libro? Libre?
Libra?
Libro. Something. Librar.
Well, if you're a lord, it's either
I'm
Libra or Libra. It just depends on the day.
I am crusty, dusty with my Spanish. This is tough.
You are crusty, dusty. I've been noticing that.
Yeah. I get so nervous to talk to my Spanish nurse outside of my house. So today I just walked outside and I said, El Sol. And she's like, ah.
She's this gringa.
Dude, no, she actually just loves that I try, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You should almost not feel nervous to talk to her because it's almost like exposure therapy you have right there.
It's this mix of like, I'm not necessarily consciously nervous. I just blank. Like my mind just completely empties.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't remember anything. I don't even know how to say like my name is.
Me amo.
I mean,
just in case you needed to know.
Thank you. Anyways, welcome back. Consciously Unconscious. I said this on an episode a couple weeks ago, but like, please stop calling us unconsciously conscious. Make it end. I know that we chose the most difficult name on planet Earth to not only spell, but to articulate properly. But this is a cry for help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
Yeah, I think that...
Or else we'll have to rebrand, and that's not cool.
No, we're not rebranding. This is a test for you. If you can get it right and get it tight, then you should be our...
You'll get a hat.
You'll get a hat. Yeah, well, welcome back. We are feeling fun, feeling groovy. We haven't had an episode where we've drank in a while.
Yeah, because I wasn't supposed to be drinking for the entire month before I went to Europe, but...
You know, those things tend to happen when you make a claim.
I woke up and I chose my personal legend today.
Yeah.
And that was following the omens to get a glass of red wine.
If you haven't picked up what we're putting down yet, this is our book club episode.
Book club, all alone in the moonlight. Yeah, book club is fun.
Book club is really fun.
Book club is fun.
I really enjoyed.
We didn't need an entire month to read a 100-page book, but we understand that people have lives and they're busy.
Well, we actually did, because I don't know if you saw, but I ran a poll like 3 days ago and I said, if you are in book club, like do the poll, and it said loved it or loving it already. The second one said haven't started yet. The third one said finished it and loved it.
I'm pretty sure I clicked haven't started yet because I just finished the book today.
Majority of people clicked I haven't started yet. So
yeah. I haven't started and I won't be starting ever.
We're for the people. We're for the people. We thought about you.
Well, the book of the month, if you haven't already picked up what we put down, is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, and today we're going to get into our dissection of it and what we thought of it. We've got some cool questions, but before we get into the episode, we want to start by shouting out our girl Opal House Vintage, who has fitted us for the episode today. I'm wearing a little silky, beautiful animal print scarf number, and Amanda's got on some lovely shorts, which she will demo for those of you watching live on YouTube. Opal House is located in Denver. They're a vintage reseller, and they do all types of pop-ups. You can even shop them through their Instagram. But she's wonderful, and she will curate things for you based on your personal style. So we hope that you can find something really special from her too, because we love our pieces and we're just feeling absolutely fab in them. And
fun, flirty, thriving, fabulous.
Not 30 though. Not 30,
Not 30.
And
You know,
thriving yet.
I will say, I was having this conversation recently. I am starting to really like the sound of turning 30.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you're trying to wish time away.
Not exactly. I just think that,
You're trying to live somewhere other than the present.
no, not quite.
I
I just think that 30 is such a daunting year. And when you hit 25, you're like, oh God, I'm so much closer to 30. And I think now at 27, you're almost 28.
Thanks for aging me. You're older.
You know, I feel so confident now. I can only imagine how confident I'm going to feel at 30.
Congratulations, Amanda.
You know, I also am not looking forward to seeing how much my children are going to age me, though, because I have to just tell you about my day. This morning,
You've been single mommying.
I've been single mommying because Lucas is on a work trip. He's been gone for 3 days now, but he's gone for a total of 8 days.
So she's been reaching out to anyone under the age of 30 to say, can we come hang out?
No.
Can you come over? Can we spend time together? Because I need help.
Today, I made my friends literally drive over to their new house that they haven't even moved in yet to just go jump on the trampoline.
Obsessed.
It's like, I need to get these kids out of the house. But Lennox woke up at 5:50 in the morning, and then
Early bird gets the fucking worm.
Ellis shit 5 times today. I had to change 5 poop diapers.
What have you been feeding the kid?
He did have ice cream
Okay,
today.
listen, last time that I came over and you fed me that weird oxtail meat.
That wasn't I. That was my husband.
No wonder he's shitting 5 times a day. Because last time I came over, first of all, I don't know what you spray into the air, like what pheromones are seeping out from your walls, but I walk in here and I am ravenous. Eats full dinner, walks through the doors, ready for 3 other meals. Lucas is a chef, so there's always weird food in the house. And also just like strange condiments and like hard-boiled eggs and oxtail. And like, I don't even know what I reach for. Okay. But one time I came in
You do.
here,
You come into the kitchen, you just black out.
She's like, I'm going to go put the kids to bed. I'm like, all right, I'll be in the kitchen. I am rummaging through everything. She comes back out. I'm like, what snacks do you have? She offers me 4 things. I'm like, I've already eaten those.
And then she just decides to take the plain ass bland rice puffs,
Yeah.
put them in a bowl, and just spoon them with her tongue.
Yes. Anyways,
Anyway,
no wonder he shit, because you have things in your fridge like roasted oxtail.
I have to confess
I can
do.
speak from experience that it gets things moving. So
And then I actually did have to put Ellis in timeout for the first time today because I took a moment to myself, put a movie on for them. I come back out. Their heads are spinning because they're so exhausted. They did not take a nap. You know what Ellis does? He's got a baseball bat. He looks at me, whacks me in the knee. Just whacks me in the knee.
like a real baseball bat, like a metal one, a wooden
no, a
one?
plastic one. But
Oh.
still, that shit hurt.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I yanked it from his arms, threw it outside, grabbed him, put him in timeout.
I still have a memory of my mom putting soap in my mouth when I was little.
No way. What'd you say?
In our downstairs bathroom. I don't know, probably fuck your ass.
It's
I don't
giving
know what I
Miranda
said.
Cosgrove. Probably fuck.
Probably fuck. I don't know. Probably fuck. Fuck. I should have said that. Damn it. You know, when you like complete a joke and then you realize how differently you could have completed the joke and it would have been so much funnier.
All the time.
Yeah. Except not that often for me because I'm always the funniest I can be. But anyways, I still have a distant memory of my mother sitting me on the counter in my bathroom and putting soap in my mouth. And I told her that recently and she was like, oh, I did that to you? I can't, what? I don't, what? I was like,
that was me?
Maybe I made that up, but like, I don't think I did.
Yeah. You know, I do think that there is sometimes just like these last ditch efforts. Like sometimes I'm like, I'm going to put you outside. I'm just going to put you in the backyard.
I'm going to put you in the shed and I'm going to lock you in there and I'm going to turn on the lawnmower.
Dude, we can't say this. We can't joke like this.
We're gonna get flagged.
We're gonna get canceled before we even started.
For legal purposes, this all has been completely satirical.
Completely satirical.
Except for the... I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Anyways.
Speaking of personal legends, because we are going to get into thematic questions, our own takeaways, our overall rating of the book, talking about some discussion questions that you guys sent through. Before we get into that, of the topic of this book is personal legends. And I do believe we have someone in the room. Where is she?
Huh?
Who has decided?
Dude, I've been absolutely gripping the gas pedal on my personal legend bike and just revving the engine. I am riding off into the sunset right now because
with your cheetah scarf.
I just quit my job, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I technically quit 4 weeks ago and then gave them a lot of notice. And so I just finished my last day of my job, I should say. Yesterday feels like a long time ago. I've been free for one day.
How's it feel?
It feels crazy.
I did see you crying on TikTok.
I did take to the internet to cry a little bit, which was a crazy outlet. Because as we all know, I'm not a silent sufferer. So if I'm going through something, everyone else must know. But I'm feeling silly. So I'm going to try to be serious about this, even though it is kind of everything is silly and a joke. But I didn't think that it would be so emotional. I mean, I started this job 4 years ago, having no idea how or what or where or the fuck. It just came into my path. And I followed the omens, as previously mentioned. And we'll talk about omens later. But there were just synchronicities that brought me into the space. I was a jewelry designer and worked on a really small team of people in Denver and had these really intimate and cool and creative appointments with all these different clients for years. And
you were the OG. You really were boots on the ground, starting.
First person that they hired.
Yeah. So it wasn't any other really just kind of cut and dry job. I mean, you were invested.
Yeah. And I really feel like I helped create the business that it is today. And I think that they would say the same thing. But the point is that I had left previously to go travel and then ended up returning and didn't see that on my bingo card either. And so when I returned, what's really interesting is that I just was feeling really guilty about going back to a job that I had felt like I left and graduated, in a place that I had felt like I left and graduated, and even a relationship. And you always retrospectively understand why you were supposed to be doing the things that you did at the time that maybe it didn't feel right. And one of those things that was birthed out of that job was this podcast, which is so insane. More to come on that. But this time leaving really felt like fully closing a door. And I think that, I posted something on Instagram the other day, and in the caption it said the grass isn't always greener, but this time it is. And I think for a while I was stuck in this job thinking about really just towing the line of, am I running away from something that's really cushy and powerful and freeing and connective because it really brought me so many good things? Or is it really time that I'm feeling so much more aligned with other things that I'm running into opportunity instead of away from something? So I made the decision to leave. And do I have any idea what I'm going to do? Kind of. But no, not really. I'm just letting things unfold as they go. And there's going to be a much deeper conversation about trust as we get into this episode. But trust and cultivating my own sense of trust in myself and my capabilities and my powers to be just as successful as I was in this job anywhere and everywhere else. That's what allowed me to leave it.
What do you think are some of the things, because I'm sure a lot of people listening to are either contemplating what you just did or wanting to do that so badly. Yeah. What do you think are some of the things that made you feel so confident and this time is the final I'm ready?
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer because I hate to say that it just comes down to like intuition and that just like greater knowing. But I think that I just had felt like I had outgrown it. Like I felt like my capabilities had been a little stifled, and to no one's fault, like not to the company's fault, not to my boss's fault, not to my own fault. Like I just had felt like every day I wasn't being challenged. I could do the job with my eyes closed. I felt like I wasn't, like I was just really going through the motions of this like repetition of something that I got so good at and really loved to do. But I think that's a big thing. Like if you're not feeling challenged, and a lot of times people gravitate towards things that are easy and comfortable, but like that's just so stagnant. I think another thing that was unfortunate for me was that like I felt like I couldn't grow in the company any further. I wasn't being offered compensation that matched what I felt like I was worth, and I wasn't being offered job titles or roles that like matched my contributions. Like I think there was just like, again, to no fault of anyone, but like it just was holding me back. And so I think if you're not feeling challenged, if you're not feeling like you're being treated like you're worth it.
Yeah.
And if there's not like opportunities to expand and grow.
Yeah.
You just kind of hit a wall.
Yeah.
You know?
The way that I was thinking of it is like a ceiling.
Yeah.
Like you hit a ceiling, and if you can't go, I mean, you're 27. I feel like hitting a ceiling at 27 feels so like limiting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also it just had to come down to like this cultivation of, like I said before, knowing my own worth and knowing that I am capable no matter which direction I turn. And the fact that I showed up into that job 4 years ago with no jewelry experience, with no connections in Denver, with literally no fucking idea what I was doing, makes me feel that much more confident to now be completely facing the unknown and just saying like, all right.
It was your shepherd era.
It was my shepherd era.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sold all my sheep.
Wait, that was good.
I sold all my sheep, and I'm traversing to find my treasure.
At the pyramids.
At the pyramids of Giza.
Well, I love that, and we're proud of you. And I think that this is going to open up so much more opportunity and so much more, just like potential. I just think there's so much newness coming in, which is always so exciting. I think it is scary, but I think it's so exciting to be in that unknown too, especially when you have been in a space for so long of like monotony.
Totally. And I think a lot of times like people will see this in relationships, and people will see this in jobs, or, you know, just things that you're losing or leaving, is that you've already grieved it. So that by the time you actually leave it, like, yes, there is emotion to it, but like,
what was that emotion though that you were feeling when you were crying on TikTok?
Gratitude.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Genuine gratitude. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't like regret in any way. It was such deep and profound gratitude for the consistent cycles of death and rebirth, for the consistent impermanence in life, that everything is always changing, and that if I had no idea 4 years ago, like anything that could have transpired these last 4 years, why could I ever try to predict that I'm going to know what's going to happen in the next 4 years?
Yeah.
That I'm going to know which direction I'm going to turn. So it was also this just like gratitude of the journey, which is exactly what The Alchemist is about, is like this power behind every step of the journey being the destination as well.
Yep.
Well, I have so many things highlighted on my Kindle, and I think one of the quotes that I have highlighted is just that like, oh, I'm gonna have to read this specific quote.
Let's do Bev of the Week, and then we'll do the quote. Okay.
The $117 bottle of wine that I got from Amanda's parents' house. Thank you, Amy and Chris, for sponsoring this week's beverage of the week. We are drinking a little red wine.
A red wine. And the reason for this red wine is because in the book, they talk about drinking wine. I asked Jessa to pick up a bottle of wine from Spain, because that's where Santiago's from. And this is actually a wine from Napa.
Yeah.
Because tell the story. You got to tell the story.
About why I was in your parents' home snooping?
Why you were in my parents' wine fridge.
without anyone else in the house, by the way. But her parents' house is like one of those. Imagine going to your best friend's house when you are young and they have all the snacks and all the sodas and drinks.
That's been my mom's like,
oh my God,
signature from day one.
Oh my God, like it's just a stocked house. Yeah. So Amanda contacts me one evening in the wee hours of the fucking evening, as if I don't have a million other things to get done the week before I fly out.
By the way, it was 3 p.m. We keep going.
Any hootie whatsy. She calls me and she goes, I have a favor to ask. I go, oh fuck. Because I knew I couldn't say no to whatever the favor was. I just felt it in my bones that I wasn't able to say no. And she does so much for me. Amanda does so much for me. I can't think of anything right now, but but she does. And so anyway, she's like, my mom left a packing cube of things that she needs. Can you please go overnight FedEx it to her? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you're going to enter the door code to my parents' house. You're going to go and you're going to go in her closet. You're going to get the packing cube. You're going to go and you're going to put it in FedEx. And she's got it in a FedEx account.
Because my parents are in Alabama for a golf tournament. That's why they were traveling. Anyways, so she left something.
Detailed fucking instructions. And so I'm like, okay, great. I'll get to it. So I roll up at the house, and this is like the type of house that would have cameras inside. For sure. That's just like the vibe that you get. And so I roll up and I go in, I get the packing cube, and I'm like, and her mom was texting me being like, grab a bottle of wine. There are 17 different wine fridges filled top to bottom. And this is not, I love hyperboles. This is not a hyperbole. At least 70 bottles of wine in each one.
More.
I mean, it's just like I'm at a vineyard itself. Yeah. I look in the backyard, someone's squeezing grapes. And someone's mashing them with their feet. I'm like...
It's Jessica.
It's Jessica and Aneska in the backyard stomping grapes. And so I fucking am overwhelmed. It's the paradox of choice. I don't want to spend too long in there. I'm like, they're probably watching me on the Ring cameras as we speak. So I just open the door, I grab the first one, and then I'm like, I'm also going to grab an Olipop. And then I left.
You must have taken the last Olipop, because I went there the day after you did, and I didn't. That's why I got that damn poppy.
Okay, well, I was a little panicked in there. So anyways, all of this to be said was that when she told me to come over with a bottle of wine, I said, I got one. I got one. It's not from Spain, but we will be drinking red wine.
We will be drinking red wine. And what I said was it's perfect because you know why? We can do a little alchemy on it.
Because you know why?
We can do a little alchemy on it.
Talk us through alchemy, turning base metals into gold.
So we have our red wine,
right?
Which could be our lead. This is our red wine from Napa Valley. It's actually my favorite vineyard. Shout out V12. It's amazing.
We got to stop talking about the wine.
Okay.
Keep going.
This red liquid.
We got to stop. Keep going.
Is our lead. But we can do a little and turn it into gold from Spain.
Perfect.
There you go.
That was a beautiful representation of the process of alchemy.
I know.
We did mention alchemy a little bit on our emotions episode.
We did.
And this concept of being an alchemist, right? If the first place that we're going to break down is the title, The Alchemist.
No. The first place we need to start was the desert actually a sea at one point?
Yes, you dumb fuck.
I had no clue. No clue.
Like, actually, you didn't know that? Or are you joking?
Actually, why would I joke about that? I actually had zero fucking clue.
Where'd you go to school? Apopka?
Bro, Jessica's gonna get our ass beat by some kids from Apopka, okay? Where I'm from is...
No, we're talking about the fucking title. We're ignoring the fact that you didn't know.
No one's gonna know why you just said that.
Maybe they will. If you know, you know. Like, there's niche humor in these episodes that people are going to need to pick up on.
Okay, IYK. YK.
IYK. I'm talking about the title.
Okay.
You're going to meet me where I'm at. And that's just where we're going to start.
Fine. So it was a C. Just for anyone out there who also didn't know, because I know there are other people.
The Alchemist.
Please come forth.
The Alchemist is the name of the book. And I think that it's really an appropriate chosen name that represents not only one of the characters in the book, who is probably one of the most profound characters that there is, and maybe kind of like the thought leader of the book, I believe.
The Alchemist.
The Alchemist in the book. He is really one of the most profound, most quoted, most potent lines of the book are the things that he says and the things that he tells Santiago. And so I think that the book is named off of him being kind of a representation of like the greater theme of the entirety of the book and what Santiago's really leaving with, and his kind of like takeaways from his journey came really directly from, yes, the whole journey, but like from the verbalized cues and language of the alchemist himself.
Yeah, he was the teacher.
Yeah, he was definitely the master. But The Alchemist as a title, I think, represents the entirety of the journey. I mean, one of the first lessons that Santiago learns when he gets stuck in, where's the first place he gets stuck? Like Morocco, Tangier, somewhere?
Well, he gets stuck at that shed in, I think it's in Spain though, right? Or no?
Basically the point where he's like, I just got robbed. I got all my money stolen from
Yes,
me
at the
from that guy at the
marketplace.
bar. But instead, and he has this realization, and he's like, instead, I'm going to alchemize this experience into an adventure.
Yeah.
Into an opportunity. And so that's the first time that you see him also being an alchemist in himself.
Yeah.
So it's kind of ironic because the entirety of the book, he's like looking for advice from this alchemist.
Yeah,
And
but
he's
doesn't he
looking-
see, he meets the king first.
Yes.
He meets a king who gives him
Melchizedek.
Umim and Thum, what is it? Umathermin?
Uman and Thuman. The two stones, the
Yeah.
white and the black
That
stone.
are meant to kind of guide him, right? To identify whether an omen is good or bad.
Yeah.
And I think that was an interesting moment too. The whole book was I appreciated it because it was so potent, yet it was so digestible. And I feel like it was really easy to comprehend. However, I was confused about the Elixir of Life, the Philosopher's Stone, the Emerald Tablet.
Yeah.
And we still didn't really get clarification on who the king was, did we?
I have a few things to say to this sentence.
Say.
My interpretation of the book overall, to be very blatant, I mean, I feel like people idolize this book, and I do believe it's a very, like you said, potent, digestible, powerful read that is quick. That's, to me, and I don't want to sound like above in any way, shape, or form, but like reading this after reading some of the other books that I've read just felt very repetitive. And I've already read this book, so this was my second time through. The first time I read this book was way back in college, which I don't even really remember what I thought of it the first time I read it. I think maybe I was like, oh, cool, like powerful, but I don't really remember my takeaways. I think going back to it now after reading a lot heavier philosophy that's a lot more indirect, this to me felt repetitive. And it felt very like, I don't want to discredit its power, because sometimes the most powerful messages are so simple and
Yes.
blatant and clear. And I think the repetition drives the point home and is done in a way that's through a fictional story, which I think is also cool because people relate to characters and they memorize plot lines and they memorize stories and they relate to stories as a way to like then absorb that information versus just like a self-help book. As repetitive as it was, I feel like we grazed a very surface level understanding of the characters, of certain things that they touch on, like the Emerald Tablet, like, you know,
Even the concept of when the alchemist at the end turned the lead to gold, that was also grazed over.
right. Like, I feel like we really didn't do, I would have really been into this book if it was double the length,
Agree.
because I want to know. Sometimes I hate the books, you know, the 3 dots in the middle of the page where it signals that you're like skipping to a new scene.
Yeah.
Sometimes I hate those because I'm just like, wait, what? You just like skipped an entire section that I really would have enjoyed understanding how we got to this next step.
Did you read the prologue and the epilogue?
Yes.
I wish the prologue and the epilogue were just bigger.
Yeah. I don't exactly remember what the prologue and the epilogue said.
I mean, just in general, a prologue is supposed to kind of give you the foreword of like what the book is about. In a lot of self-help books, it's like written by somebody else who has read the full book and kind of gives you like a teaser. And then the epilogue is really kind of like, you just finished this book and you're kind of like wanting more. Here's a little bit more.
Well, the end definitely leaves you wanting more for sure, which I actually appreciate about a book. Like, that's the best way to end a book, is to have people wanting more. I read this baby on my Kindle, which we all know.
Okay, so what's your overall rating though? Out of 5 stars.
I would give it a 4.6.
Okay.
And I give it a 4.6 because I'm comparing it to other books that I've read. And other books that I've read have struck my chords differently based on different languaging that they've used, or imagery, or plot lines.
Yeah.
I think that I was a little bored at some points during this book through the repetition. I also think that, again, like, I don't want to discredit the message, but to me, it's very like baseline, trust your intuition vibes.
Yeah.
Find your personal legend and find your journey. I don't think it does credit to the fact that people have multiple personal legends.
I think it does a phenomenal job at talking about finding your personal legend, going through the journey, reaching the destination at a very entry level beginner point. I agree though, that was my question afterward, was what if somebody has multiple personal legends? What if they actualize their personal legend and they still have life to live? Like, there's so many questions, but I also think that's the point.
I highlighted a bunch of things on my Kindle.
Wait, can I give my rating since you didn't ask?
Yeah, what's your rating?
I give it a 4.9 because I actually feel the complete opposite than you when you were talking about how you resonate with other deliveries. Mm-hmm. I really, really resonate with, like, is it called a parable? Like a story with like a larger spiritual message.
Yes.
I like that shit. It's kind of weird that I don't like religion because I feel like it's full of parables, but I really love spiritual meaning being drawn out of stories. I think that it's easier for me to understand when it's in a story capacity and it's in like a linear fashion, even though that this book was not linear in Santiago's journey, and we'll get to that. But I give it a 4.9 just because I wish, again, it was a little longer. I do think that there were times where the whole desert journey was lengthy, and I think it was meant to be lengthy, but I do think it was a little repetitive. And I wish there was more context afterward on what is alchemy exactly, what is the Philosopher's Stone, what is the Elixir of Life, and what's the Emerald Tablet. Because when I was researching after the fact with those questions in mind, there's like a lot of mythology around it.
Around what part?
The Emerald Tablet. Do you know what the Emerald Tablet is?
Yeah. Have you ever read the book Stoned by Aja Rodin?
No.
Okay, really good book. Add to your reading list. It's dense, it's heavy, but it's really interesting. It's basically the history of jewelry and stones and gems, and placing not only placing value in material items like stones and gems and golds and minerals and things like that, and how we came to consider emeralds precious stones.
Yeah.
They tell some pretty good anecdotes about the Emerald Tablet that dates back to like very early Spain with like King Ferdinand and Queen Isabel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I read was it's the founding text of ancient Egyptian alchemy.
Oh.
Yeah. And it says it contains the secret of prima materia, which is the starting point for the transmutation of lead to gold. Isaac Newton, who founded physics, called it the una res, which is the one thing by which the world was created.
Wait, he's calling emeralds that?
The Emerald Tablet. Different than just emeralds, like the Emerald Tablet, which is like a tablet of emerald transcribed, or there was like, what was that? What is the,
like an engraving?
Like the hieroglyphics.
Yeah, on a huge emerald.
Yes. And it was said in its one tab, like literally one tablet.
Yeah.
It's not that big actually. And they wrote the entire like
laws of the universe
and like process of transmuting lead to gold. Just really quick. Do you know where gold comes from?
The earth.
It comes from a supernova.
Okay, this bitch says that she doesn't know that the the desert was a sea and then tells me that gold comes from a supernova.
No, I researched that, obviously. I like Googled that. But
I'm listening.
it comes from a supernova. Basically, a supernova is like a star exploding, okay? And something about the electrons and the protons coming together to create neutrons, and then basically the debris from the supernova, if it's close enough to the Earth, will fall into the Earth, and then we get gold that has just like basically encrusted itself into the Earth's Earth.
The Earth's Earth. Okay, so emeralds come from supernovas. The laws of the universe.
Supernova.
Okay, let's just break down what we're talking about.
Okay.
Gold comes from supernovas.
Yep.
Very extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
Super cool.
That would have been great to know in the jewelry gig.
Yeah, I could have sold a lot more fucking gold. Damn, I do wish I knew that.
Yeah.
Anyways, gold comes from supernova. Supernova, extraterrestrial.
Supernova come from universe.
Creation of gold from lead equal alchemy.
Yes.
Emerald tablet equal laws of universe.
Yeah, and also the principles of transmuting led to gold. But the other one that they talked about all the time was the Philosopher's Stone and the Elixir of Life. And I still wasn't clear on what those were. And I tried to research them and really nothing came up.
I'm not listening to you. We have to start that over. I'm sorry. I'm answering a very important text message.
How important is it?
It's not as important as transmuting lead.
Okay, then stop.
Okay.
Bevergino led to gold, Santiago in the pyramids. Oh, but it's not here. Oh, I gotta go. Oh, I gotta go. Gotta go back to the shed with the tree that has roots. And I'm gonna dig. And I'm gonna dig. And I'm gonna dig.
Okay, that was crazy. I'm ready. And I'm gonna dig. All right. Honestly.
You know what that just reminded me of?
What?
Sandy, the squirrel sitting on...
I wanna go home. That's when I said earlier.
She knew about alchemy.
Oh, Sandy?
Yeah.
Absolutely she did. Earlier, I made the reference of I wumbo, you wumbo, he, she, we wumbo, the study of wumbology, and Amanda didn't fucking understand it.
That was SpongeBob?
Yes! Patrick Star. the OG alchemist.
Oh, I thought it was like
Telling us
actually like something spiritual and intellectual.
No.
Even though SpongeBob was kind of intellectual. Maybe we should do an episode on that.
Let's go back. Let's bring people
Let's
back.
go back to personal legends, because that was a huge part of the book. And basically, Santiago has these reoccurring dreams of the pyramids and there being a treasure. And so he goes and sees this gypsy who basically tells him his future, interprets his dream, and says, this is what it means. I want 1/10 of your treasure, da-da-da.
But we need to clarify that the place that he first has the dream is where he ends the book.
Exactamento.
And we're going to wrap it all back around to that. But like very, very prominent detail is that he's having this dream under this tree.
You know what? If the book didn't end that way and it just ended at him finding his treasure at the pyramid, I probably would have given this book less stars. But the fact that it was so spot on with how actual life and achieving things is, it saved it.
What's funny is that in the beginning, he says, and I quote, I couldn't have found God in the seminary, he thought, as he looked at the sunrise. So he thinks, I think
he thoughteth.
Like he's in that ruined church underneath the tree. And this is why I highlighted it, is because at the beginning of the book, he's like, I can't find God in here. I need to go out and I need to find my personal legend and I need to like go off into the world. And I need to have these adventures. I need to sell my sheep. Maybe he's not even thinking that far ahead yet. But like the whole concept of him having found God not only in himself, but like in the place that he thinks is exactly the place that he can't find it. It's so interesting. And I highlighted that before that's on page 13. I couldn't have found God in the seminary, he thought, as he looked at the sunrise, which I think at first I was highlighting because I was like, yeah, damn right. You're not going to fucking find God in a church. Go out and live. But like at the same time, you have found God just in your own existence.
Yeah.
And what I love about the book is that he uses the language of God in many different ways.
Yeah.
He does use the word God, but he also uses the words like, he uses a lot of interchangeable words that we all kind of hear: source, energy, personal legend. Like, what else does he use to kind of describe this like godly universal force?
Divine, the master, the creator.
Yes. Like he interchangeably switches out the word God, which I also appreciate.
Allah. Yeah.
There's only one God. His name is Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. I don't know why I memorized that from like 7th grade social studies. That's a weird thing. That's like a tick.
But that Cheryl Good is going to come at you for that.
Who's Cheryl Good?
The woman you blocked on Spotify for calling you out.
Oh my God.
No, but that quote is actually great because I think that it's so... that's why I appreciated the book, because no matter how simple the concept is hearing it again and again and again is so important, because it really did hit me this time.
Yeah.
You can be happy where you're at, but sometimes you have to go out, experience things in order to come back and be happy in this spot. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Which is what we talk about on the Grass is Always Greener episode. And I think, I would like to read some of these things that I have highlighted specifically from the book and dissect them. But I think one of the other first things that I highlighted was the problem. And he's talking about his sheep. This is about his physical animals. The problem is that they don't even realize that they're walking a new road every day. They don't see that the fields are new and the seasons change. All they think about is food and water. And that is the perfect representation of us as humans being sheep in this reality that we live in.
Ooh, yeah.
And people not even realizing that they need to leave their pastures and leave their desire for just like this food, water, sleep, to go experience and expand. And maybe the basics are coming back to walking your pastures and eating your food and getting your water. But I just thought that was very representational, where like he's actually physically describing his herd of sheep and his animals, but like that's how we are in society. Is not even realizing the fields are new and the seasons change. That
part didn't even hit me like that, which is so interesting, and it's so true. Which leads me to the concept of personal legend. So again, he has the dreams, but when you were saying that, it makes me realize like a lot of us are just going through the motions, food, water. And the question that I had about personal legends is, do we choose it or does it choose us? Because in a way, Santiago was also kind of just food, water. And he was a little bit more sensational, obviously. But I think he also was like, I got to get my sheeps from point A to point B. I'm going to go meet the woman that I think I love, or whatever, that he met a year prior.
The merchant's daughter.
And then if it weren't for the dreams, he wouldn't have even had this adventure, which I believe was really like the divine showing him his potential and saying like, you have a choice to ignore this or not. So do you think that we choose it, or do you think it chooses us?
I think you just said the answer. I think that we are shown synchronicities, and like we keep joking about these omens. We're shown signs, parallels, synchronicities, omens, thoughts that you don't even know where they come from, like downloads. Like download is such a buzzword, but like intuitive pulls, pings, where that is a message that is chosen for you.
Yeah.
But you have free will in deciding if you're going to listen to it or not. And you have free will in deciding what you're going to make of it. Like, I think that there's a beautiful combination of your interaction with the universe being both divine and both filled with free will. And we have this conversation a lot, and it's it's all your personal interpretation, right? But like, I think that when we talk about someone's personal legend or multiple personal legends.
Yeah. Do you think people have one or a bunch?
I think that's a hard thing to answer, like, matter of factly. I think that there can definitely be more than one personal legend for people. Or maybe I believe that there's kind of just like one at a time, but you float through many at your life, through your life. But I think that the concept that things are chosen for you can give people a lot of reprieve.
Yeah.
But again, we always chat about this concept of like, you don't want to become too apathetic or too passive to just like letting your whole life be determined for you. Like, you have to participate and you have to engage in the signs that you're getting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, yes, because I think there are so many people who are even listening to that might be like, I don't know what my personal legend is yet. And I would challenge that, because I think we all know what our personal legends are deep down, whether you've given it breath or not.
Yeah.
And I think exactly what you said. If you don't engage with the omens and you just shove it down because you have to provide, or because you're in these circumstances, or whatever the situation is, there are real life situations where you can't give your whole life to your dreams, even though you might know them. And so that could lead to you suppressing them and then maybe not knowing them because you've never really given them life.
Yeah.
But I would argue that we all kind of know ours.
I have another quote highlighted that says, whoever you are, whatever it is that you do, when you really want something, it's because that desire originated in the soul of the universe. It's your mission on earth. So that in itself gives light to when you really want something that is free will, that you desire, that you choose, that you want, it's because that desire originated in the soul of the universe. So it is exactly that concept of like co-creation and being able to like follow through with maybe a mission that has been created for you, but that you are the one following through with and desiring enough, right? Because the most famous quote from this whole book is, when you want something, the whole universe conspires to help you achieve it.
Yeah.
And so you, free will, you as Amanda, as Jessa, have to want something.
Yeah.
But then the universe, fate, something written for you will help you conspire to get there. But you have to really want something.
Yeah.
Someone asked me the other day, maybe this goes back to what you asked me in the beginning of the episode of like, what would you say to people who like maybe want to quit their jobs or whatever? Anyone can do it. You just have to really want to do it.
Mm-hmm. You have to make the choice.
It's all about how badly you want to do something. If you want to do something that badly, you will make it happen.
Facts.
Period. Like, that is literally, and it's not any more difficult than that. It's just, you want to move to California. How badly do you want it? Bad enough to make it happen somehow? Or do you like just want it and like, oh, like maybe someday?
Yeah.
If you want it bad enough, it will happen.
Yeah. And I think that you can't have this conversation without talking about trust in all of this. And I think that when you talk about, if you want something, the whole universe will conspire for you to get it. I think that sometimes people can articulate that in a way that's like, oh, well then if I just claim that I want this, like it'll be brought into me. It, like, the universe will bring it to me.
Yeah.
I think that reading this book made me realize it's not about claiming it and then the universe giving it to you. It's about what you said, wanting it, going after it, like doing aligned action, putting aligned action into it. And the whole universe is conspiring for you is like the universe, you have to trust that the universe has like a safety net for you, that it's going to show you omens, it's going to give you signs, but even when you quote, end quote, fail, it's going to hold you.
Yeah.
You're going to be caught. I think that's really what I took away from the whole trust conversation in this book was, it's not that it's going to be given to you, but you will be caught in the moments where you're down.
Yeah. And I think the trust is exactly what brings you into that like immersive, universal current of life.
Yeah.
you can't participate in the co-creation. You can't participate in the what do they call it? The entirety of the book.
The soul of the universe or the soul of the world?
Yes.
That's what we need to talk about is the soul of the world. What is the soul of the world?
It's the law of oneness.
Yeah. And the other thing that was so eye-opening to me too was towards the end when he tries to turn himself into the wind and he's talking to the sun and he's talking to the wind, and then they're like, you have to talk to the creator. Like we're also just...
It's all written by the same hand.
Yeah. Maktub. Is that how you say it?
Maktub.
Maktub.
Yeah, Maktub.
Maktub.
I think that is what is it? The soul of the
soul of the world.
The soul of the world is what he keeps saying in the book. Yeah. I think that there's all different names for it, right? Like the soul of the world is Maktub, is energy, source, consciousness, frequency, vibration, connectedness, the law of oneness. It's this concept that everything is everything. Everything is connected and we are all connected.
Yes.
And so if all people are connected, then we're able to know everything.
I also think that I thought that the choice of personal legend and then the soul of the world was really interesting. And I would love to know why he chose to name it those. Because in the beginning, it's very individualistic, right? Like this is your personal legend and everything has its own personal legend. But at the end, you really quickly realize that a win for you is a win for the collective.
Yes. And he says that too.
He says that. He talks about it. I think I have a quote from it.
Yeah.
But it was so fascinating because I think that living in a modern day world, we are so individualized. Everything is about the individual, my nuclear family. Don't look at the person holding a homeless sign. Like it's just very much like, I'm in my own realm. I'm worrying about myself. I only can worry about myself.
My success and my life. I mean, it's very protective, right?
Yeah.
But I think that that's what he talks about too, of the language of the world.
Yes.
Is when he says something about when people become fixated or fascinated by words and symbols, they forget the language of the world.
Yes.
And that is the very, very quote that brings you to what we are experiencing in our society is that people are getting fixated. Let's call the words and symbols of the world as in the everyday life distractions, as in the narratives that we're being fed, as in the little things that we should care about, as in the things that we should consume and buy in such a consumerist society, as in just distraction. And you forget the language of the world, which is that aliveness, that consciousness, that peaceful trust that you can feel when you go and you sit in nature and you meditate in the desert. Or not even you don't even need to meditate in the desert. It's just about these moments where we talk about sensations a lot, sensationally connected to your experience, your awareness, your presence, your mindfulness, all these buzzwords that don't even do justice to explain those moments that you all know in your life when you experience whoa, I'm fucking alive right now.
Yeah.
This is the language of the universe, is that I am connected to the rocks, to the trees, to this person beside me, to the sun in the sky, to the breeze in the air. Everything is everything. And no matter what brings you to that sensation of true alignment and peace, that's the language of the universe.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it was super interesting that the soul of the world, to me, the way that I what's the word? Perceived it was, it spoke of evolution.
Yeah.
Because I think what was so interesting to me the whole time was okay, if we're all put on this earth to have a personal legend, but some people can die trying to achieve or trying to pursue their personal legend before they've actualized it. Is that what they come into the next life trying to do?
It's not even they die before they've actualized it, because that was their personal legend. They have actualized it.
But was it? Because he does say in the book a lot, some people die in the pursuit of their personal legend, and how great is that? that they died in the pursuit of it versus
Right.
ignoring it altogether. Because what was really interesting was the crystal shop guy.
Yeah.
And he talks about it a lot, where I think I read this in the last episode actually, where he says something about like, you've shown me so much potential and you've showed me my dreams. And now I'm going to feel worse after you leave because I know I'm not going to actualize it.
Yeah.
So it's this like knowing about a dream and
When he talks about
willingly-
that, about going to Mecca too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so that was my question. Like, okay, if you can die in the pursuit of your personal legend, is it fate? And is that maybe what reincarnation is? Like we reincarnate to come back and actualize that personal legend, because the whole concept of life, whether it's Jessa and Amanda, you guys listening, the fucking caterpillar in your front yard, the wind, the sky, the planets, whatever, maybe it's all about evolution. It's all about growing. It's all about learning lessons and like up leveling.
Well, that's just so inherent. Like, you don't even need to try to evolve. You don't even need to try to grow. Just every single moment that you exist is evolution in itself. And I mean, there's the age-old quote, like, it's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all.
Yeah.
And a lot of people take that very romantically, like monogamously with the partner. It's better to have loved someone and lost than to never have loved at all. But like, I take that very much as just like capital L love that we talk about here. It's better to have experienced being alive and being capital L love. He talks about love a lot in this as well. And like, the most important language of them all is the language of love. And so it's better to understand how to speak that language for even just a minute, a half hour, a day of your time before you die or give it up or something, than to never have experienced it at all. And he talks about like love being something that's like older than humanity.
Yes.
And more ancient than the desert. And what does he say? Something that exerted the same force whenever, ignore that. I was trying to bite that down on what that did. He says it's a language that everyone on earth is capable of understanding in their heart.
Yeah. But that's the thing. A lot of us are disconnected to our heart. We're told not to listen to your heart. Listen to your head. Logic.
Like,
masculine.
Yes, I think we get stuck often on this concept of like, we're told that we're not supposed to. We're told that we're not supposed to. And it's like, yes, the narrative is that we're not supposed to listen to our heart or our intuition or whatever, but it's also so protective. We don't even need to be told not to listen to our heart. In the society that we live in and in the world that we live in that is so tough and intense and chaotic, it's just an inherent protective mechanism to not listen to your heart. And so yes, part of it is so conditioned by other people unto us and by education and all these institutions, but it's also just like, it is an inherent biological, physiological response to protect yourself and not live out of a place of vulnerability and your heart and your open, receptive, capital L love. It's a place of protection. It's a place of like biological protection.
Well, this is a quote that I pulled that speaks to exactly what you're saying, which is naturally it's afraid of that. In pursuing your dream, you might lose everything you've won. And I thought that was so fucking potent. That was a beautiful way to describe why we don't listen to our heart. Because I feel that. I mean, we've been kind of talking about this and hinting at it, but Jessa's moving. I'm thinking of making a move with my entire family. And I think something that I think about often is, what am I going to lose in this? Because I mean, I will lose something, whether it's a quality of life or whether it's a community or whatever, convenience of my parents, blah, blah, blah. But I think that oftentimes stops us so much from pursuing and listening to our heart. And again, I think that if it's on our heart, we're meant to pursue it, but there is this like push-pull.
Well, I think about it as the, again, age-old question of choose your heart.
Yeah.
Choose your heart. It's not, clearly, Santiago shows us, it's not an easy journey.
Yeah.
Every single person speaking here, listening here, knows that like their journey has not been easy. It is hard, but in terms of like relating it to your experience and mine in a more tangible fashion is I could have chosen my heart to stay at a company where I did get a lot of benefit from it and I did get a lot of power, just like you staying here with your family. Like there's so much benefit, but there's also difficulty because you feel maybe stifled, you feel held back, you feel like you're maybe not living out your personal legend.
Yes.
Or there's a choice of that's hard for me, or is this hard? The hard that I want to choose, which is going into the unknown, which is trying something new, which is moving your family, which is trusting that I'm worthy enough to make money alternate ways. Like there's always a choice of which hard do I prefer. It's not choosing between hard and easy.
To rephrase exactly what you're saying in the lens of The Alchemist, I think, again, this book is so about the journey, which I appreciate so much because often in our culture, we tend to just think of the end goal. We think of the destination. We think of the future, right? And I think that this was so about the present in every step of the way. And I don't think that, you know, if you are connected to the oneness of the universe or the universal language, that you could be in a place to even receive omens. I don't think that you can receive omens unless you are so present.
One of the most profound things that I read in the entire book was 3 words. Life attracts life.
Yes.
And it's that, like, life attracts life speaks to the greater picture of being present. It speaks to the law of attraction. It speaks to just like the evolution that we're talking about. But like life being, this concept of being so potently aware of where you are in the moment that then you will attract more life. Like people use this quote, like life is really lifing right now. Like life is so lifing to be alive. Like life is such a crazy word because it is so descript of like an entire experience. Think about the word life.
Yeah.
Life. It's a huge word.
Yeah, I don't even know how to describe it. I don't even know if I could actually give a definition to it.
When I think about it, I picture life as like a very macro level word where it's all encompassing of experience, situation, emotion, thought, breath. Like it's very active, alive. It's so like, what's the word I'm like textured. I don't know. Like
consciousness is coming to me.
Yeah.
Like I really do think that. And it's interesting because I do think that this book blends a lot of like consciousness, but subconsciousness as well. But I pulled a quote that I loved when it speaks about the journey. Because the question that I had is, how do you stay the course on your dreams when the universe is testing you and throwing you around and like throwing you, you know, for lesson. And again, that is the whole fucking point is Santiago was at the place where his treasure was, but he would have never fucking known it was there.
Yeah.
If he didn't get thrown in the ringer.
Yeah.
And so there was a quote that I love and it said, before a dream is realized, the soul of the world tests everything that was learned along the way. It does this not because it is evil, but so that we can,
I have this highlighted.
In addition to realizing our dreams, master the lessons we've learned as we've moved toward that dream. That's the point at which most people give up. It's the point at which, as we say in the language of the desert, one dies of thirst just when the palm trees have appeared on the horizon. Which is just so potent to me because I think that so often, especially in our generation, we think that we just have the end goal in mind. We just have the destination in mind. We just have the future in mind. And, you know, I'm sure anyone listening can pinpoint a time being with somebody who is extremely driven, but is only thinking about their work or their goal or their blah, blah, blah. And they're so mentally not there. They're so mentally distracted. And it saddens me when I'm around people like that because I'm like, you're not understanding that the universe is speaking to you and trying to help you get there and co-create that with you. But if you are not pulling yourself out of the future and going into the present, you're not going to get there.
But it's that because just the same concept of like, you can't have self without other, you can't have good without bad, you can't have present without past or future. So I think a lot of times like this narrative in spirituality and of like presence and mindfulness is like, be present. There's nowhere else to be. Presence is the only thing you have. And it's like, absolutely, that's not wrong. But to be able to be present, you have to have awareness of future and past to be able to bring you there.
I think there's a hierarchy though, where people, and maybe just people that I'm surrounding myself with, are prioritizing the future over the present.
Yes.
When I think that the future is literally created in the present. And I think that to the point of there's been multiple personal legends, I think that I have had like, if I could speak on my personal legend, I think that there's like an umbrella, right? Like I think my personal legend very much is to lead, to inspire, to be honest, and to speak. Like I just have always felt this pull to share, whether it's, you know, writing or creating videos or literally on a mic. And I think that that can turn into so many different things, right? And it's why I've tried and done so many different things. And it's led me to this, but I think that so often, if I were to just live in the end goal, I would have missed all of the synchronicities. I would have missed all of the, you know, you and I sitting on a couch and being like, wait, this conversation is so potent and so present and so alive. And so there's something here. If I was thinking about my own individual personal legend that I thought of, I would have missed that.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be sitting here.
I think what people don't realize is that like living in the present is the best way to serve their future, because we get so stuck in serving their future by living in these thoughts of like, what am I going to do and how am I going to make it work? And oh my God, I'm going to have this and I'm going to have that. But the way to improve your future is to like improve your present moment.
This is a quote from the Camel Driver.
Okay.
It says, the future belongs to God. When he goes to one of the seers, the future belongs to God, and it is only he who reveals it under extraordinary circumstances. How do I guess at the future? Based on the omens of the present.
Yes.
The secret is here in the present. If you pay attention to the present, you can improve upon it. And if you improve on the present, what comes later will also be better. Forget about the future and live each day according to the teachings, confident that God loves all his children. Each day in itself brings with it an eternity.
Yes. Each day itself brings with it an eternity. And that's speaking to the eternity and the infinite experience that you can have in every single present moment. It's interesting that you brought up your own personal legend, and I really see that for you, and I see that in you as being someone who is like contributing to collective consciousness through your voice and through your presence online. And I saw someone on the internet the other day that was talking about kind of like changing the narrative of influencers and changing the narrative of like people being present on social media. And I think social media has gotten a really bad rap recently because of the way that it does affect people's literal brain chemistry, take people out of the present moment, get people to dissociate and scroll. But it was a really interesting perspective of media, social media, the internet, being a way to ascend people's consciousness, being a way to create this like combined brain, this combined consciousness where we get to reach each other that much more easily and realize that we're all connected. There's this red thread of connection through experience, through emotion, through situations that we have the beauty of sharing. And yes, there's a lot of dumb bullshit on social media, but anyways, saying that in regards to you being someone who's prominent and prevalent on social media, and I think that that's like a special place for you to remain. I think
Go ahead. I want to know your personal legend, but go ahead.
I was just about to say.
Okay, good.
I was just about to tell y'all my personal legend.
I wasn't going to bite my tongue on that.
I don't know my personal legend other than the fact that I know, like, okay, what I do know about my personal legend is that it requires me to be all over the world.
Yeah.
Straight up though, like my personal legend requires me to see and experience and touch and feel and taste the world, not just like the world around me peripherally in my bubble, but like what is beyond my outstretched arms. And, you know, I think it's a similar vein of thought, which is why we're here on a microphone, is to have my voice be heard, but also just like make people feel seen and heard.
Yeah.
Like I don't just need to be heard. I have important things to say, I feel, but also being a presence in someone else's life where I get to make them feel heard.
Yes.
I think is part of my personal legend. Movement is a massive part of my personal legend in terms of just like the physical connection to your body and your proprioception moving through time and space. I don't know, but I think I am so confident, more confident than I have ever been, especially after quitting my job, packing up my whole life, putting everything in storage, leaving the country for a couple months, and then making a move out to California. Like the trust that we brought up earlier in this episode is the only way to accomplish whatever. Like I don't think people know their personal legend a lot of times. And it's interesting because there's this dichotomy of like the book saying, once you know what you want, then the universe can conspire to help you achieve it. And even Mel Robbins and her review of this book is like, find things that you want. Like she has a very like book? Yeah, she has a very like logic, goal driven review of the book where she says like,
no hate to Mel Robbins. I love her. She's doing great work in the world. However, she's a very masculine representation of spirituality and self-help. Like very logic, practicality, like,
well, she says
let them. And it's like,
she says it's a great reason to like be clear about your goals and determine what you want, because then the whole universe will help you conspire to achieve it, which yes, but I think so many people, like to me, I don't need to know my personal legend. Yes. I have no idea what it is. I am so here for the journey. I'm so here to just like.
But I would argue that that's because you have a very deep connection to divinity. I think that people who don't know that their personal legend have no concept of faith, like, or trust or God or whatever their God means to them.
Yeah, but I'm going to stop you. Sorry to interrupt.
Let me finish and then you can stop me.
Fine.
I think it's because they prioritize their own action over the ways that the universe can also bring things to you. Like it's a very like I create my reality mindset.
Yeah, and you do, because the point that I was going to make is that like I'm not a fan of putting my power outside of myself. Yes, I have this connection to divine, like you said, and this connection to a greater consciousness. But like, I am that greater consciousness. I am divine. In the book, it literally says one is loved because one is loved. There's no reason needed for loving. And I think that self-worth is the only reason that I feel like I'm connected to divine and therefore can trust.
But you create a reality because you know that you are God. People who don't know their personal legend, I feel like don't feel like they are God, but they create their reality. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like, I feel like it's kind of like an atheist perspective. It's like they don't have any trust outside of themselves at all, or that they are oneness. It's very much just I'm a human being walking around this earth and I create things or I don't.
I could totally smoke a cigarette right now.
Same.
Actually, this is what book club is all about. Like having a couple glasses of wine and just going off your fucking rocker.
Okay. To add to my personal legend,
please
really
validate
quick,
me really quick.
And then I'm going to go to your personal legend.
Perfect. I'm ready.
I think something that I've always been really good at is seeing potential. Whether that is in myself, my children, my husband, my friends, whatever. And being very good at taking people's ideas and actualizing them.
Yeah, you're Virgo driven.
Yes. And so what I think is part of your personal legend is teaching through entertainment. you are so fucking funny and you are so fucking articulate. And I mean, let's just get one thing straight. To be funny, you have to be smart as fuck. You do. And I think that you, like, if you were just educating,
boring.
And I don't think it would get to people as much. I think that you can reach so many more people through entertaining and getting them to feel, whether that's laughing or crying, and then hitting them with a punch. I mean, again, that's kind of the concept of the podcast, but like, it is about being able to deliver the message in a way that's going to actually land. And I think that entertainment has a really big power to do that. The reason I think that social media has gotten a bad rap is because it's entertainment devoid of a greater purpose. And I think that that is part of what we're trying to do here, is to meld the two. But I do think that entertaining is something that is so natural to you that, like, I think you'd be doing a disservice if you didn't, like, here's the thing. Wherever your heart is, you will find your treasure. Facts.
But actually, because my heart feels the most free when I'm able to be like goofy and funny, and that's the treasure that not only I feel and see in myself, but that other people absorb. And like, not to make this about us and what we're good at and what we're giving to the world, but like for you guys as listeners, like, wherever your heart is, that's where you find your treasure. Meaning, wherever you feel most just like, this is me, this is an expression of me, that's what people are receptive to.
Yes.
And that is where, like, you will take steps in a direction, not even needing to know where the direction's going to take you, but that is like, so
that's magnetic.
That's your personal legend.
Yeah.
Like, that's it right there. It's just like doing things that have no position in pleasing other people. Like, I think when we first started this podcast, a big thing for me was, how am I going to educate? How am I going to like teach people what I know? And wanting to be perceived as someone who is a teacher.
Yeah.
And while I still want that, because I want to be a teacher, and so do you, and that's like what part of our personal legends is, like, I think when I started to release this identity of how I was about to be perceived as a teacher, as a guru, as a guide, and I started just being like funny, approachable, grounded Jessa, that's what people absorb.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw in my previous job. And that's what I encourage you guys to do, is like find positions where you are genuinely like, that's where your heart is.
Yeah.
That's where your heart is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if you have to withhold any part of you, like, that's a clear sign that, like, that's not it.
We need to talk about Fatima, and then we need to smoke a cigarette.
Okay, wait. Okay, before we talk about Fatima, because Fatima's a larger question and this is kind of like a smaller conversation, what did you think about the Englishman? What was the significance of the Englishman?
Well, it's interesting that you ask, because I didn't really think too much about him.
Right.
But I do believe if I was supposed to dissect the book a little bit further, he would have
like you do in book club.
Like you do in book club, like he would have been made to mean something. Let's see. Let's talk about the Englishman.
Let's see. What does my brain think?
Let's see. He was reading a bunch of books on his camel about alchemy. You know, okay, I'll say something. I have something to say. He meets the alchemist, and the alchemist literally tells him to just go try it. Go try it. And he says, okay. That's it. He doesn't put up a fight. He doesn't say, no, please tell me, like, please teach me, blah, blah, blah. I've been looking for you for years. I've been reading all about. He says, okay, I'll go try it. And at first I thought he was kind of a hardo. Okay. I thought he was kind of a dweeb, leading up to the point where he meets the alchemist, where he's like so set on like what he needs to learn. And it's like this illusion of creating your own reality and the control that you want to have over your own reality. And like this idea of like, I'm going to become this and I'm going to do this because this is what I'm supposed to do. And then he meets the alchemist and he surprises us all. And the alchemist is like, well, I can't teach you. You got to go learn yourself. And he literally just says, okay. And he disappears and he's never in the book ever again. And I'm like, oh my, I expected him to be like,
turning that into gold.
Well, I expected him to just like put up more of a fight
Yeah.
in thinking that he couldn't do it on his own.
Yeah.
But the second that someone said that he could do it on his own, he was like, bet, watch me.
You know what I thought about him was that he was the representation of the masculine in this book.
Interesting.
And Santiago was the representation of the feminine, because the Englishman was so, again, in this, I create my own reality. I achieve things, and then therefore I will claim my success, and I'm going to learn based on the text that I'm reading. Whereas Santiago was reading the universal language.
Yeah.
He was reading the soul of the world.
He was participating in the
was-
universal language.
He was participating. He was one with the universe, whereas the Englishman was one with the texts. And he was very much in the like analytical, practical,
Yes, that's a great
masculine.
interpretation.
And so I just thought it was interesting that I think it meant to serve us of like the alchemist. We thought that the Englishman was there to meet the alchemist, but Santiago was there to meet the alchemist, and the alchemist
Yeah.
knew that.
Well, obviously, because Santiago had to meet the Englishman to be the catalyst to bring him to the alchemist, or else he would have never met the alchemist.
Exactly.
We need to talk about the sixth day.
Thank you, because I was so confused about the sixth day.
I have some things to say about the
Please,
sixth day.
say it.
All right. To refresh you all who have read the book, I'm going to read a little passage that
Read it 'cause I
talks
have to
about
pee
the
really
sixth day. Okay. And I know the soul of the world because we have talked at a great length to each other during this endless trip through the universe. It tells me that its greatest problem is that up until now, only the minerals and vegetables understand that all things are one, that there's no need for iron to be the same as copper or copper the same as gold. Each performs its own exact function as a unique being, and everything would be a symphony of peace if the hand that wrote all this had stopped on the fifth day of creation. But there was a sixth day. And this is the conversation when Santiago's talking to the sun. And the sun is saying, but there was a sixth day of creation. If we had stopped at the fifth, then we would have stopped at the fifth. But there was a sixth day. You are wise because you observe everything from a distance, the boy said. But you don't know about love. If there hadn't been a sixth day, man would not exist. Copper would always be copper and lead just lead. You missed the passage I read, but
No,
basically...
I was listening.
Okay. I interpreted this as essentially just like the personal legend of the universe.
Yes.
Like the divinity of the fact that we have to be
We are the personal legend of the universe.
that our expression as humans that are beyond copper being copper and lead being lead, and the fact that there is conflict and there is war and there is hurt and there is disparity and hierarchy, that is all like, that's the personal legend of the universe. The concept of human life living itself out.
Yes.
It's beyond the minerals and the vegetables. It has to be. Because if minerals were just minerals and vegetables were just vegetables growing on a tree with no species to interact with them, then everything would just be what it is. It's the language of like, and so it is.
I'm so glad that you just said the word interact, because something that I wrote down in my book was you can't actualize anything if you don't interact.
Ooh.
Because I think that the more that we become monotonous and sedentary and like individualistic beings, we lose interaction with the world. And I'm very curious what that means for the personal legend of the universe.
I have one more quote that I think is really important. And we talked about love earlier. And so basically he says the whole time, like, love is what improves the personal legend of the universe, the soul of the world. And he says, this is Santiago, I thought the soul of the world was perfect, but later I could see that it was like all other aspects of creation and had its own passions and wars. It is with we who nourish the soul of the world and the world we live in to either be better or worse, depending on whether we become better or worse. And that's where the power of love comes in, because when we love, we always strive to become better than we are. This is, again, his conversation with the sun and talking about like this personal legend of the universe and the soul of the world and this idea that like there is hardship and there is conflict and there is war. And when he realized that like that's inherent to creation, that's inherent to existence in all forms, like, why wouldn't we choose love then? Why wouldn't we choose our own personal legend to better ourselves, to affect the entirety of the world? And there's a quote that I can't go search for, but that he also says at some point.
I'm a spark note it.
I'm fucking, like, I have it highlighted. I have so many things highlighted in this book. I literally just highlighted the whole book. I'm starting to slur. I can hear it in my words.
That was the first time I heard it, just letting you know.
No, I heard it like 6 different times.
Oh.
And my teeth are probably black. My lips are black.
You know, we're gonna put a disclaimer in the beginning of the episode to have a glass of wine at the ready when you're listening to this.
This is so fun. I've always wanted to do a book club, but like do this in person with like a bunch of women, like who and everyone thinks like, oh, you're in a book club. You're just gonna have wine and then not talk about the book. And it's like, no, I want to dissect the book.
Same. Okay, last thing we need.
We have to talk about Fatima.
Yes, we have to talk about Fatima. Okay.
Oh, Fatima. I need to inhale smoke. Okay. I have a lot to say, but I feel like I've been speaking a lot.
I'm gonna open it up with this quote.
Go for it.
I'm a desert woman, and I'm proud of that. I want my husband to wander as free as the wind that shapes the dunes, and if I have to, I will accept the fact that he has become a part of the clouds and the animals and the water of the desert. And then she says, you must understand that love never keeps a man from pursuing his personal legend. If he abandons that pursuit, it's because it wasn't true love, the love that speaks the language of the world. I think that was actually the Alchemist that said that, but
okay.
I think that she represents this narrative of relationships that is so not talked about. What's going on over here?
I'm listening. Just keep going.
I think that she represents this narrative of relationships that is not represented ever anywhere.
Which is the non-possession.
It's my personal legend is you living out your personal legend.
Yeah, that's unconditional love.
Yes. And I think that Jesus Christ.
No, hold on. Well, keep going.
Okay. I think I talk about this a lot in our episodes with Lucas about unconditional love, about how I felt that with Lucas. And I feel so lucky that I have a partner who knows this to his core, that if I don't set out in pursuit of my personal legend, that like his personal legend is also not going to be fulfilled. Like it's very interconnected.
It's, what was the quote that I said? Life breeds life.
Life attracts life.
Life attracts life. That's a very rare thing to find. Like, let's label it as rare, because it takes two very evolved people to be participating in a mutual understanding that your success is my success and your evolution is my evolution and your personal legend contributes to mine. And it's truly this idea of like the reason why I left my last partner, which was your happiness is my happiness and we don't make each other happy anymore. And so you must go. I must go. And like that just gave me chills because of like the chord that it struck in my body, and like how raw and real that is that it doesn't, with Fatima, like her love, their love for one another was a reminder that to love someone is not to possess. To love is not to possess. There's a beautiful poem about this.
You read it.
I sent this
It's called
to you.
Santiago.
No, that's
yes, it
different.
is.
No, it's different.
Oh.
Santiago is by David White, which we have also read.
Oh, and we named our group chat this with Jamie and Taylor and Lucas and
To
you.
love is not to possess.
We got in there.
Yeah, we went on. This was.
I'll edit it out.
She just spilled his fucking name.
Zeus.
We went on a New Year's Eve trip, and it was a couple's trip that I crashed. It was Amanda and Lucas.
It was beautiful.
And Jamie and Taylor, and we're at dinner, and we're all drinking. I've had like 7 dirty martinis. I'm like, can I read you guys a poem? It's this poem called "To Love Is Not to Possess." I think it's by like this guy James Kavanaugh or something. But anyways, it's so relevant to this. We'll link it below. It's so good, and it's about this concept that Fatima really introduces to Santiago, which is like, I love you, but that doesn't mean that like we need to stay near each other the whole time. That means that like my love for you expands your love for yourself. And who looks at him and says like, yeah, you'll be happy with her for a year, but then you'll
The Alchemist. He literally lays out the entire trajectory of what it would look like if he were to ignore his personal legend and then stay with Fatima.
Yeah, and it says you'll be happy for a year, and then you'll not be able to stop thinking about your personal legend. And I think that's very representative of what happens in a lot of relationships nowadays, is that you compromise a lot of yourself to match pitch with someone else, to match environments, and to match like relations with someone else. And you are happy when you first make that decision. And then later comes about the fact that you have compromised a lot of yourself to make that work, and you can't get beyond that. And so then either you compromise that for the rest of your life, to deny your own personal legend to fit into this, square peg and round hole that you've created in this relationship with yourself, or then you realize like, oh fuck, what have I done? And you have to make a really hard decision where you end up choosing to leave that person that you like deeply really love, but like have to kind of choose yourself in the long run. I don't know. That's not mutually exclusive to
No.
all the scenarios, but
no. I want to take a moment to like just say like, I don't think I realized this when you were going through it, but like, goddamn, you really like, I think you experienced that to like the nth degree, where I will never forget when we were launching the podcast and your old partner was like, was not supportive of it, didn't listen to it. When I met him, was very just like not welcoming, just like very not about it.
yeah.
And I didn't even comprehend that like that was the moment in which that you chose your personal legend. Truly.
I could cry right now.
Please do.
I cried on one of the previous episodes about David Attenborough, so I don't need to cry. I don't need to cry again. But no, I mean, like, I was deciding between doing a solo episode on my breakup or on travel. And I got a lot more inquiries on travel. But I do have a lot to say about my breakup, because it was that. It was a choice of my personal legend, and it was a choice of not only myself, but like each other. Like I saw in him that I also wasn't serving him. And this was honestly like the deepest love that I had ever experienced in my life up to that point. And that spoke to where I was personally and what I was able to attract, and where he was personally and what he was able to attract. And, I think we got to a place where, and he was, to give you guys a description, like a very spiritual person. And this was the first like spiritual person that I had ever dated, that I think I kind of had like turned on to that world and into that space of awareness and mindfulness and like expansive conscious thoughts. I mean, like his first mushroom trip was with me. Like, let's put it that way. And so when we got to the end, I just remember we had gone to a concert and like things had kind of been on the fritz, and we took ecstasy. And that brings out like a lot of just truth and raw and real, like capital L love. And we sat on the front steps of my house. And this was like a month before we broke up, 2 months before we broke up, like fully broke up. And we looked at each other and we just kind of had that like realization of, we have been such catalysts and we've been such Englishmen in each other's like achievement of our own personal legends. But like, this is, like, have we learned everything that we've needed to from each other?
You did. I just got chills.
I get chills too, because we just like had a moment of kind of just being like, God, we love each other so much, but like this is our point of expiry. And I think that we were still trying to like want to see it through in a very romantic way. And it was always romantic, but like the very end was just so much of us being able to see the other person as that alchemist to the other person's like realization of, I must go on my own way, and I must go like love differently and feel differently and like figure things out without you. And so I digress. This is your breakup episode. You're welcome. But like that choice, especially when we got to the podcast space, was choosing.
Yeah. You.
Yeah. Not to like romanticize it also. Like there was a lot of really shitty things that were also happening at the same time.
For sure.
In terms of disrespect and boundaries crossed, et cetera, et cetera. But the point of all of this being is that like your worthiness to be, like we talked about earlier in this episode, like your worthiness to be loved is so inherent in your existence. And so when we put ourselves in these relationships that are like very much checking the boxes of societal norms and what a relationship should look like in terms of like someone providing for the other or supporting one another or protecting one another. Like you and Lucas are a really great example, and like Zeus and I are a great example of what it means to love someone without possessing someone, and what it means to love someone with allowing them to like live out their own individuality and their own identity at the same time that you convene in partnership and contribute.
Yeah.
The partnership is the contribution to your own personal legend.
Yeah.
The partnership is not your personal legend.
No.
It is the contribution to yourself.
Yes.
And your story.
And I think it can also be the catalyst, because I will say, for anyone listening who was like, I feel like I've met my person, but they're just not there yet. I do think that the reason that Lucas is very like, you got to live out yours and I got to live out mine and we'll do it together, is because he's come around to this idea of unconditional love. Because I think his idea of it was very much this like, well, if you don't do this, this, and this, or if you don't post on this, or if you don't do blah, 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 like back in high school, then it's not love. It's like if I'm not wanted, it's not, or if I'm not needed, it's not love.
Yeah.
And I don't think that love is being needed. I think love is being wanted, but also having love for someone beyond the conditionalities. And so again, yeah, Fatima was just a beautiful example. And honestly, just so refreshing, because we don't get that narrative in a lot of texts.
I think we have to close out the episode, talk about how it ends, because he goes back and says that he wants to go look for her.
Exactly.
So what does that mean? Like he has achieved his personal legend because he found the treasure back where it all began. Like it's all completely full circle. He takes all of his lessons from his journey and says like, it's always right under your nose. Your treasure is where your heart is. My heart wasn't here the first time I was here, but my heart is here now, and the treasure is here. But also,
my heart is also with Fatima.
My girl.
Well, I think that is very much speaking to your personal legend always evolving. And again, his personal legend was to find this treasure. But like once he's found the treasure, what next? And I think that's always a concept we come back to, is like, are we always just chasing what's next? But for him, his heart was also with Fatima. And he talks about that when he goes through the desert. And he's like, oh, I'm thinking about her. She's sending me like kisses through the wind.
Yeah.
And I think it's really sweet that I was hoping that it like came back to that, because I'm a hopeless romantic and I love that. But I think that it really spoke to the fact that like, if it will be, it will be.
I loved what she said at one point where she starts crying because she's telling him all these things of like, just go and live out your life. And like, she makes it very like, she makes it look easy. That it's just like, no, I don't need to be with you, go. Yeah. That's like, let's go back to this whole conversation. Like that's a really hard thing to accept, that your partner has their own identity and their own life and their own things that are not going to have anything to do with you.
Yeah.
And at one point she starts crying and he says, why are you crying? And she said, I'm a woman. I'm a woman.
I'm a woman except for the days that I'm a man.
Well, she said, I'm a woman of the, or what does she say? I think
I read that quote.
Yes, she says, I'm a woman of the desert.
Yeah.
But above all, I'm a woman.
Yes.
And like,
I love that.
Just still saying like, I'm a woman of the desert. I'm strong. I understand. I know what I'm here for. I know what you're here for. We have our own story.
Yeah.
But like, I'm a woman. I speak the same universal language that you do. I feel your love.
Yeah.
I know your love. Like, and then she is just like, I'll wait for you. Ugh. Oh my God. This is so, I mean, we've been recording for 2 hours. I'm officially really drunk.
No, I loved this, and I think we're gonna have to do another book club because I think that anyone listening is probably gonna love this too. I
think that every single person who's made it this far is probably gonna be obsessed with this as well.
I knew when that came out of my mouth, it sounded bad.
I think that anyone listening is gonna love it too. Anyways,
That's the delusion of following your personal legend.
I'm fucking disheveled.
Well, this was a great entry point for our book club for Consciously Unconscious. Truly. Like, I think that this was a great start. I hope that anyone listening understood what we were saying towards the end.
I'm so excited to listen.
Me too.
I'm gonna listen to this as if I was never part of the conversation to begin with, because I basically not. We have to go. I have to go.
Okay, love you. Bye.